Little Shop of Horrors, the 1986 musical horror remake of The Little Shop of Horrors, directed by Roger Corman. This was directed by Frank Oz, who you know as one of Jim Henson's, top guys. He also directed What About Bob? This stars Rick Moranis, Ellen Greene, Levi Stubbs of the Four Tops, Steve Martin, Christopher Guest, Bill Murray, John Candy. This is a perfect representation of America in 1986. And today we're going to get into this VHS. Welcome back to the Ecto Violence channel. My name is Alec, and today we're getting into Little Shop of Horrors on VHS. And let's go ahead and pop this tape right in. Immediately we're greeted with a Warner Home Video logo, and something great, a trailer for the movie Inner Space. I don't know if many of you have seen this movie, or if as many of you remember it and have as fond of memories of it as I do. It's a movie starring Dennis Quaid and Martin Short. I actually have a rental copy of it around here somewhere. Then there's a quick ad for the soundtrack for Little Shop of Horrors, and I love seeing these, especially for things like this. This is a musical.
The Little Shop of Horrors original soundtrack recording is available on Geffen Records, cassettes, and compact discs, wherever music is sold. And
speaking of musicals, I'm not a person who's super big on musicals. However, I do have a soft spot for some. And you might be like, yeah, of course, Little Shop of Horrors and Rocky Horror Picture Show. I get it. I love both of those, but I also really like Singing in the Rain, The Sound of Music, Grease. I like some musicals. I'm pretty picky with them, but yeah. And overall, Little Shop of Horrors is a beautiful movie, okay? Rick Moranis is awesome in this. Growing up, I was more familiar with him in Ghostbusters and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I didn't see Little Shop of Horrors till my teen years. I was just surprised he could sing as well as he does in this movie. And Ellen Greene is famous for playing the role on the stage before this movie as well, but all the songs in this are really great too. Just kind of like Rocky Horror Picture Show. I can throw the soundtrack on and just let it roll and listen to it and have a good time, like driving around or something, Sing along. And his song about how he found Audrey too, it's amazing.
You remember that total eclipse of the sun about a week ago?
Daddy! You have Christopher Guest, who pops in as the guy who's talking about the strange and interesting plant. Christopher Guest is great. He's in This Is Spinal Tap, but he also directed and was in Best in Show, and my God, that guy is highly underrated. The song where he discovers he has to feed this thing his own blood, at least for now.
Looks like you're not happy, unless I open a vein.
This is something that, if you're a horror fan, you can get behind this movie, even if you're not big on musicals, This transcends that. Anybody, your mom, your grandma, your brothers, your sisters, I feel like a whole family could enjoy this movie. You'd think I was marketing it in 1986, come on. But John Candy's appearance as Wink Wilkerson.
Please, lady, don't put your clothes back on. It's Wink. You can't do this to me. What if your husband were to walk in? I'm right here, Wink. I'm sorry. I love your show, but I've got to kill you both with this machine gun.
I always forget that he's in this because it's kind of overshadowed by Steve Martin, Bill Murray. And then every time I'm like, crap, John Candy's in this. That's right. And I love when he's about to tell him the story, the song's about to start again, and it implies that he just sang in that whole song again.
Well, you remember that total eclipse of the sun about a week ago?
Speaking of songs, my favorite song, perhaps, is The Dentist song by Steve Martin. It's perfect, and Steve Martin is first of all, he's great anyway. But he's particularly great in this role.
You'll be a dentist.
Now, there's some people who I feel like grew up in the 90s or the 2000s that maybe didn't see a lot of the 80s stuff that Steve Martin did when he was a little wackier. Stuff like this and The Jerk, The Man with Two Brains. Obviously, one of the more iconic songs, Feed Me Seymour, in there.
Feed me all night long.
Which leads me to talk about the effects of the plant in general. Holy crap, the puppeteering of this plant is it's a wonder. It's amazing. Flawless, no notes.
You open your trap, you sing, and you say...
Feed me, Carbon, feed me now!
And Audrey 2 suggests essentially killing the dentist. Come on. Come on.
The guy sure looks like plant food to me. The guy sure looks like plant food to me.
Which leads me to Bill Murray. I love how he's getting himself set up. I love how he's like, yes, doctor. And while the dentist song may be my favorite song, this is my favorite scene in the movie, the Bill Murray scene. And then how he throws his special gas mask on, it's very reminiscent of Blue Velvet, which also came out that year.
I'll fuck anything that moves!
He drags his body back there, chops it up, and feeds it to Audrey 2. Mushkin sees this, confronts him. He gets eaten. And there's something I want to talk about in regards to the alternate ending of this movie that wasn't even available to see till recently. Well, somewhat recently. So they originally spent $5 million on the ending, and it's controversial still, because in the original ending, Audrey is mortally wounded when she is being swallowed by Audrey 2. He takes her out, and he's trying to save her, but she's like, nah, I'm dying anyway, feed me to the monster. Then we'll always be together or some crap, and he's like, alright, I guess. And then Seymour is eaten, his glasses are spit out by Audrey 2, and Audrey 2 and its little plant budlets take over the world. And there's an extra song, Don't Feed the Plants, which is in the original stage musical. They take over the Statue of Liberty and eventually bust out of the screen into the movie theater at the time, you know? And that's just fascinating. That's awesome. I don't know if they've put that on some of the releases. I don't think they've put it together with the movie. I think it's a special feature you have to access, but it would be interesting to see somebody cut that together and throw it on a release. So let's talk about the positives of Little Shop of Horrors. We already kind of went through and talked about all the different cast and characters they play. I think that's honestly almost the best possible casting you could have in the 80s. Bill Murray, John Candy, Steve Martin, Rick Moranis. Now, besides Ellen Greene and the singers, there aren't really many women characters. I mean, I suppose we could have had one or two more there, but heck, you even have Jim Belushi at the end, and wouldn't say he's ideal, but I definitely like Jim Belushi. Once I saw him in Twin Peaks The Return, sold. I love the guy. Levi Stubbs from the Four Tops as Audrey 2. Again, iconic and legendary performance. The songs, they're all good songs. Feed Me Seymour, Little Shop of Horrors, Down on Skid Row, these are very iconic songs. The Dentist song is one of my favorite ones. Grow For Me and Mean Green Mother, it's solid. I actually think I have a copy of the soundtrack on CD. Again, so the special effects, that's another positive. Audrey 2 is just iconic and legendary. The rest of it feels very, very stage musical, which is kind of the vibe. It feels like you're watching Singing in the Rain or something. It has elements of that, you know what I mean? And that's because it is filmed entirely on a stage. The same team as the puppeteers for The Labyrinth are the ones who worked on and built Audrey 2. They figured out that if they used a slowed frame rate to film Audrey 2's scenes and made everything slow when they filmed it and they sped it up, then it looked more natural for the monster. And as many as 60 puppeteers were working this thing at one time. Can you imagine 60 people working on one puppet? And that's at its most elaborate, so it wasn't always 60 people. But that's pretty ridiculous, right? Now let's talk about the negatives of Little Shop of Horrors. Oh, I guess there are none. Before I rate this movie, I do want to remind you to check out my TeePublic in the link below. I do have a couple different shirt designs and stuff on there, so check those out. There is a link in the description down below. And if you're interested in helping support the channel, the best way to do so is to check out patreon.com/ectoviolence. There's a couple different plans on there, but if you're interested, there is an extra video every month on there and early access to everything as soon as it's finished editing. And please leave a comment down below and let me know what you think of Little Shop of Horrors. I am going to rate it a 4.5 out of 5. It is near perfect for me. There's nothing that I could improve on for this movie. It's just that there's stuff I think out there that is better. If you like this video, be sure to check out this one and hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.